Hello, I'd like to welcome Gregory Landaway for an opportunity to do a video interview about the outcomes of the Syzygy design team at the 2001 Syzygy, keep saying that, 2011 Syzygy 1 design charrettes. In your own words, what was the task of the Syzygy team?
The Syzygy design team was focused on a twofold task. The first and most important was to generate outcomes specific to liberating you and Jenny's attention and generating more income from the infrastructure that's already been invested in here at the Syzygy Community House and Lake Street Inn. So specifically, the team was looking at ways to utilize this resource to make money in a way that doesn't require a lot of attention from you and Jenny, so that you have more freedom to make decisions in your life, pay attention to your kids, and pay attention to sort of the bigger aspect of what was being designed as well. The second, which is connected, of course, was the creation of a transformative action learning process to move people into a worldview and understanding about finance, economics, and planetary regeneration that allows people to be open to making investments in regenerative enterprise that doesn't necessarily yield high financial return on investment, but instead creating experiences for people to understand the non-financial returns that come from investing in these important regenerative enterprises. So those were the two things.
And what role did you play in relation to the Syzygy design team?
I sort of gave them their task, their design task, outlined clearly those two bits of interrelated but different design work, and I was responsible for giving them any information that they needed, interfacing between them and you when you weren't around. So if they had questions that were sort of client questions or about the space or about anything like that to orient their design process, I was there to help sort of facilitate that. And I'd say that's pretty complete as far as my role.
And what do you think are the most important outcomes that came from the Syzygy design team?
Well, I think, they did some really good work. One of the nice pieces of work is some information about how much more financially sustainable this Syzygy Community House could be if there's a little bit more focus on program development, even 4 times a year, for instance, focused on a particular demographic that's also in alignment with some of the longer term vision. So they really showed through their design work that the numbers work out to pay attention to doing program development. It's not, so that the brilliance of that design work is it's not only important for the bigger vision to be hosting these transformative experiences, but it also works out financially. So that, I think, is a key aspect. And then there was a lot of really cool thinking in terms of what the transformative processes look like. We had some of the people on the planet who are maybe most skilled at designing transformative processes working on this. So I think that outcome is going to be extremely valuable. The pathway that was designed for that is also a very important outcome.
Great. What resources or other tools did you and the Syzygy design team draw upon during the design process?
Well, one of the primary resources that we drew upon was the 8 forms of capital map and the holistic goal that the Joneses, Todd and Jenny, you and Jenny, had created with my help earlier. So all of the design was focused using the holistic goal in order to check sort of, is this design going in the right direction? Are we meeting the quality of life statement of you all, and do we have the assets, the 8 forms of capital resources to actualize what's being designed? So that was our liberating structure. So that was one of the primary tools. And then there were, of course, tools utilized by Brandy, who is facilitating that group, and myself doing breakouts, some schematic mapping, spreadsheeting, timelines and phase plans, mind mapping. So there was sort of the more technical tools of design also used.
And what did you understand my role to be in relation to the syzygy design team?
Well, your role shifted back and forth. You maybe had 2 or 3 hats at least. A lot of times you were wearing the hat as the client, so you were there to answer questions about the space or about your needs and wants. So there was sort of a real clear role as a client to help guide the process. And then other times you were wearing a designer hat, so you were giving opinions about what processes were good for transformation, or this, that, or the other, which is sort of more of a designer co-creation hat. And then, of course, you also sometimes had to put on the hat as sort of the space holder and the host, and helping people be comfortable and things. So you were doing a lot of shape-shifting.
Yes, I was. What ways do you think that the experience offered an opportunity for my action learning and skill building?
Boy, well, I could definitely see how the act of shape-shifting is a skill set. The act of being able to be clear about what your role is and then shift the role when needed and have everybody understand that you're shifting roles and responsibilities. That's very powerful professional and personal development there on a couple different levels. And then I also see that it's a really amazing development pathway to be a client for a group of really powerful designers, because it forces one to be very clear about what one wants. And so you really had to first of all go through the process with me, and then go way deeper than that between you and Jenny to continue asking yourselves, what do we really want? And that, I think, is a really deep pathway of development.
So you kind of jumped ahead to the next question, which is fine, but yeah, which is about how the experience might have contributed to my personal and professional development. But do you think you would want to add anything else about how it was an opportunity for my action learning and specific skill building?
Action learning and specific skill building. Well, yeah, the action learning aspect of this opportunity really had a lot to do with learning how to host and facilitate a charrette and a team. So I think you did a great job at paying attention to the process and documenting your own process and being sort of part of the documentation team and delegating a lot of documentation to other people that then you got to harvest at the end. So a big part of action learning is the reflection phase and the documentation phase. So that's a big thing that I see you did really well.
Thank you. How could the outcomes of the syzygy design team benefit others or add value to their work?
Well, the outcomes of the syzygy design team on multiple scales, I think, are going to have substantial positive outcomes in the world. The small scale is it has a positive outcome for you and your family, and then whoever comes to hold the sort of coordination and program development position here. High quality of life, creative outlet, potential to sort of co-create on this simple scale, but also in a project that has really global significance. That's a huge outcome. So, and then of course the pathway towards personal transformation around finance and economics for regenerative enterprise investors, I think, has substantial potential to impact the world by moving large sums of financial capital into projects and programs and organizations and businesses that are doing really good work, eco-social entrepreneurship work in the world, so that the design work here has a lot of potential impact.
And that is my next question. You might have answered it, but what are some ways that the outcomes of the syzygy design team might contribute to the field of regenerative enterprise?
So one of the key hurdles in the field of regenerative enterprise is unlocking funding. So this directly addresses what many of us who are engaged in regenerative enterprise see as a key obstacle. So we focused our design attention on the weak link in the system and have some good answers. And so now it's all about following through and continuing to see how we're going to implement the design. So it's really exciting.
Do you have any other comments you'd like to share about your experience as part of the event or part of the team?
Part of the team. Well, this team in particular was really interesting and beautiful in that it was the most intergenerational team, and it was really cool to see that dynamic unfold, where the elders and some really powerful women sort of stepped forward to be the core part of this team, which was really kind of the leverage and the linchpin for all of the rest of the design. You know, if we weren't able to get something that worked here at syzygy, and we weren't able to find a way to have that transformative experience happen in a clear way, the rest of everything is kind of just thin air. And so it was beautiful to see the elders and young powerful women step in and take leadership on that and really design the sort of the beating heart of this whole thing, the pump of the whole bigger design. So that's sort of, I just wanted to notice and acknowledge that and think that it's really cool.
Great, I agree with you. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.